Imagine hearing screams pierce through the quiet of your neighborhood at night. Desperate, terrified screams. You call the police, your heart racing, knowing something is terribly wrong. When officers arrive, they find a young mother dead on her porch, blood everywhere, a broken knife nearby, and inside, a toddler who will never remember his mother's face. This isn't a story about a stranger attacking someone in the dark. This is about a system that failed, about protection orders that were just pieces of paper, about a woman who did everything right and still lost her life, about 78 stab wounds inflicted in under 3 minutes by someone who claimed to love her. Inside this true crime documentary video, we dive into the horrific murder of McKenzie Anderson, a 21-year-old mother whose death could have been prevented. And before we dive into this heartbreaking case, I need you to do something. If you care about domestic violence awareness, if you want to understand how these tragedies happen, hit that subscribe button right now. Click the bell icon so you never miss our coverage of important cases like this. And please, leave a comment sharing your thoughts on how we can better protect victims of domestic violence. Your engagement helps spread awareness that could save lives. Now, let's begin on the night of March 25th, 2022, in Newcastle, Australia. It was a quiet Friday night in Mayfield, a peaceful suburb of Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia, the kind of neighborhood where people knew their neighbors, where kids played outside, where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Crawford Street was lined with modest apartment buildings, working-class homes where people were just trying to get by and raise their families. At number 78, in a small flat within a block of apartments, lived 21-year-old McKenzie Anderson. Her friends called her Max. She was a young single mother doing her absolute best to build a life for herself and her 23-month-old son. That little boy was everything to her. He was almost 2 years old at that age, where he was probably starting to say more words, maybe running around, definitely keeping his mother busy every single moment. Mackenzie's flat wasn't fancy. It was small and modest, the kind of place you live in when you're young and struggling to make ends meet. But it was home. She had worked hard to make it safe and comfortable for her son. She had dreams of a better future, of breaking free from poverty, of giving her boy all the opportunities she never had. That Friday night started like any other. Her son was probably already asleep in his cot. Mackenzie had a male friend visiting, someone she had been seeing, someone who cared about her. The identity of this friend wasn't released to protect his privacy, but he would end up being an important witness to what happened that night. At some point during the evening, another person arrived at Mackenzie's flat. Tyrone Thompson, her ex-partner, the man who had been jailed for assaulting her just months earlier, the man who was legally forbidden from coming anywhere near her home or contacting her in any way. But there he was, inside her apartment, despite the court order, despite the violence in their past, despite everything. It's still not completely clear how Thompson got into Mackenzie's flat that night. Did he force his way in? Did she let him in because she was afraid of what he'd do if she didn't? Court records would later reveal that throughout the evening, Mackenzie asked Thompson to leave multiple times. She wanted him gone. She needed him gone. But he refused. He wouldn't leave. The situation was escalating. Voices were raised. There was tension in the air, the kind of energy that makes your skin prickle because you know something bad is about to happen. A neighbor in the apartment complex could hear what was happening. They heard a woman crying out in distress. They heard a man shouting. They heard something that sounded very, very wrong. At 10:40 p.m., that neighbor made a phone call that would change everything. They dialed emergency services and reported what they were hearing. The exact words of that call weren't released to the public, but the urgency in the neighbor's voice must have been clear. Something terrible was happening at 78 Crawford Street, and someone needed help right away. Officers from the Newcastle City Police District responded immediately. When you get a call about a woman screaming in a domestic disturbance, you move fast. Police cars raced through the quiet streets of Mayfield, lights flashing, sirens probably wailing. They pulled up to the apartment complex and rushed toward McKenzie's flat. What they found would haunt them forever. On the porch outside McKenzie's unit, they discovered her body. She was lying in a pool of blood. The amount of blood was staggering. It was clear immediately that her injuries were catastrophic. Medical responders arrived and tried desperately to save her, but it was too late. McKenzie Anderson was pronounced dead at the scene. At just 21 years old, her life was over. Inside the flat, officers found her son. Thank God the little boy was unharmed. He was safe in his cot, probably confused by all the noise and the strangers suddenly in his home. He had no idea that his mother was gone. He had no idea that his entire life had just changed forever. The scene was chaotic. Superintendent Wayne Humphrey, the district commander, would later describe what officers saw as horrific. And that's saying something. Police officers see terrible things all the time. When a veteran police superintendent calls something horrific, you know it was truly awful. Near McKenzie's body, investigators found something important, a broken knife. The handle was separated from the blade, snapped from the force of what had been done with it. This wasn't just one stab wound. This wasn't a momentary loss of control. The knife had been used so violently, so many times, that it broke apart. And then officers found Tyrone Thompson. He was sitting cross-legged at the top of the shared staircase in the apartment building. He was injured. He was covered in blood. And even as police were dealing with a dead woman and a traumatized child, Thompson was loudly demanding medical attention for his wounded hand. Think about that for a moment. A woman is dead on the porch. Her blood is everywhere. Her baby is inside crying. And this man is sitting there, covered in blood, demanding that someone take care of his injured hand. Thompson was arrested immediately. He was taken to John Hunter Hospital under police guard, so his hand injury could be treated. The fact that he was injured raised immediate questions. How did he hurt his hand? Was it from the broken knife? Did McKenzie fight back? What exactly happened in those terrible final minutes of her life? For McKenzie's family, March 25, 2022, started as a normal day and ended as the worst day of their lives. But to understand how we got to that horrific night, we need to go back. We need to understand who McKenzie was, what her life was like, and how the system failed to protect her. McKenzie grew up in Newcastle, surrounded by family who loved her deeply. Her mother, Tabitha Accurate, worked as a dental hygienist. She was a steady, loving presence in McKenzie's life. The bond between mother and daughter was incredibly strong. Later, after McKenzie's death, Tabitha would share heartfelt tributes that made it painfully clear just how much she loved her daughter. McKenzie was also close to her father and had a tight group of friends who described her as the heart of their circle. She was funny. She loved making people laugh. She had a warm personality that drew people to her. On social media, particularly TikTok, McKenzie shared glimpses of her life. Her videos showed her humor, her resilience, and her pride in being a young mother. She wasn't ashamed of her struggles. She was doing her best, and she wanted the world to see that. But life had never been easy for McKenzie. In her early 20s, she was facing challenges that would be difficult for anyone, let alone someone so young. She was a single mother living in a modest flat, trying to provide for her son on very limited means. Her friends said she was determined to break free from the cycle of poverty. She worked hard. She dreamed of a better future. And more than anything, she wanted to give her son a stable, safe, happy life. But there was a dark cloud hanging over everything McKenzie tried to build. His name was Tyrone Thompson. McKenzie and Thompson's relationship began in late 2019. From the very start, it was turbulent. They were on and off constantly. When they were together, things were intense. When they broke up, it wasn't clean. Thompson didn't respect boundaries. He didn't accept that McKenzie had the right to walk away. By October 2021, things had gotten so bad that Thompson was arrested and charged with serious offenses. He had assaulted McKenzie. He had terrified her. He had damaged her property. These weren't just arguments that got out of hand. This was deliberate violence and intimidation. Thompson was convicted and sentenced to jail. But here's the thing, his sentence was short, just a little over 4 months. And he didn't even have to serve all of it because there was no parole period. He would serve his time and be released automatically. When Thompson was released from prison on March 9, 2022, there was a court order in place, an Apprehended Violence Order, or AVO. This is Australia's version of a restraining order, or protection order. The AVO clearly stated that Thompson was not allowed to contact McKenzie in any way. He couldn't call her, he couldn't text her, he couldn't message her on social media, and he absolutely could not go near her home. These orders are meant to protect victims. They're supposed to give people like McKenzie peace of mind, knowing that the law has put a barrier between them and their abuser. They're supposed to keep people safe. But for McKenzie, that AVO was just a piece of paper, and Thompson violated it almost immediately. McKenzie's friends later told police that she had lived in constant fear during the time Thompson was in jail. She knew he was getting out. She knew March 9th was coming, and she was terrified of what would happen when he was free again. One message she sent to a friend after Thompson's release said it all. "My ex Tyrone just got out of jail for what he did to me and is already acting weird and harassing me. He couldn't last 24 hours. 24 hours. That's how long Thompson managed to stay away from McKenzie after being released from jail for assaulting her. Less than 1 full day before he started violating the order meant to protect her. Thompson began calling her. When she didn't answer, he messaged her on social media. When she blocked him on one platform, he created new accounts and found her on others. He was relentless. He was obsessed with maintaining contact with her, with asserting control over her life. McKenzie's friends said she felt trapped. She was caught between 2 terrible fears. On one hand, she was afraid of what Thompson might do if she completely ignored him. Would he get angry? Would he come to her home? Would he hurt her? On the other hand, she hoped against hope that maybe, just maybe, if she responded sometimes, if she tried to keep things calm, he wouldn't escalate. Maybe he'd eventually leave her alone. It's easy for people who've never been in this situation to say, why didn't she just call the police every time he contacted her? Why didn't she report every violation? But it's not that simple. Victims of domestic violence often feel like they're walking a tightrope. They're trying to survive. They're trying to keep themselves and their children safe. And sometimes that means making choices that don't make sense to outsiders but feel like the only option in the moment. McKenzie knew she needed help. In the weeks before her death, she reached out to domestic violence support services. She asked about safety upgrades for her flat. Could she get cameras installed? Could she get reinforced doors? She was trying to protect herself. She was doing what she was supposed to do, seeking help from the very organizations designed to help victims like her. There's a heartbreaking detail that emerged later. For Christmas 2021, just a few months before her death, McKenzie had asked for a practical gift, a new set of kitchen knives, just normal kitchen knives for cooking, for preparing meals for herself and her son. something every home needs. Those knives meant to help her build a life would become the weapons used to end it. The 16 days between Thompson's release from prison and McKenzie's murder were filled with violations, fear, and missed opportunities to intervene. Thompson wasn't being subtle about breaking the AVO. He was calling from multiple numbers. He was messaging from multiple accounts. He was even contacting people connected to McKenzie's new partner, the male friend who would be at her flat that night. Court documents would later reveal something stunning. McKenzie had spent much of the 6 days immediately before the attack in Thompson's company. 6 days out of the last week of her life, she was with the man she feared. Why? Because he wouldn't leave her alone, because he pressured her, because she felt she had no choice. Her friends said she felt trapped. She didn't know how to stop his constant attempts to force his way back into her life. And the system that was supposed to protect her wasn't doing enough. Now, let's look more closely at what happened that night, March 25th, 2022. We know Thompson ended up at McKenzie's flat, despite the AVO forbidding him from being there. We know McKenzie's male friend was also there at some point. We know tensions were high. The male friend had actually left the flat earlier in the evening. Maybe McKenzie asked him to go. Maybe he had somewhere else to be. But at some point, he became worried about her. He decided to return and check that she was okay. And when he walked back into that apartment, he witnessed something no one should ever have to see. Thompson was on top of McKenzie. She was on the ground. The male friend immediately understood that something terrible was happening. The neighbor had already called police by this point, responding to the screams they'd heard. But for McKenzie, help was coming too late. What happened in those final minutes of McKenzie Anderson's life was unspeakably violent. Later, the crime report would reveal the full horror. McKenzie was stabbed 78 times in under 3 minutes. Let me repeat that. 78 times in under 3 minutes. Think about what that means. That's more than one stab wound every 2 seconds. That's not a moment of anger. That's not even a fight that got out of hand. That is sustained, deliberate, frenzied violence. That is someone who wanted to destroy another human being. One of the knives broke from the force of the attack. The blade separated from the handle, and still the attack continued. McKenzie fought for her life. She tried to defend herself, but against someone that much bigger, that much stronger, that determined to kill her, she had no chance. She ended up on the porch outside her flat, where officers would find her body. Whether she was trying to escape outside or whether Thompson dragged her there, we don't know. But that's where she died, just feet from the door to the home where her baby was sleeping. When Thompson was arrested and taken to the hospital, he had injuries to his hand. He would later claim these injuries came from trying to wrestle the knife away from McKenzie, that she had attacked him and he was defending himself. But forensic evidence would tell a very different story. Thompson's DNA was found on the knife handle. McKenzie's blood covered the blade. The pattern of her injuries, the sheer number of wounds, the severity of the attack, all of it pointed to one conclusion. This was not self-defense. This was murder. In the days following McKenzie's death, the Newcastle City Police District launched an intensive investigation called Strike Force Slant. Detectives knew they had to build an airtight case. A young woman was dead. Her child was motherless. And someone needed to be held accountable. The crime scene itself provided crucial evidence. Forensic teams carefully documented everything. The blood-stained porch where McKenzie's body was found, the broken knife fragments, the blood spatter patterns inside the apartment that showed the attack had started indoors, the overturned furniture and scattered belongings that indicated a violent struggle. Every piece of physical evidence was photographed, measured, and collected. Blood samples were taken for DNA analysis. The knife fragments were bagged and sent to the lab. Nothing was overlooked. But physical evidence was only part of the investigation. Detectives also needed to understand the context. What had led to this? What was the relationship between McKenzie and Thompson? Had there been warning signs? The answer was a resounding yes. There had been many warning signs, and they were all documented. Investigators examined McKenzie's phone and her social media accounts. What they found was deeply disturbing. Message after message from Thompson, calls from different numbers, contact through multiple platforms, a clear pattern of harassment that had started the moment he left prison and continued right up until her death. Some of the messages between McKenzie and Thompson were tense and threatening. Others were oddly calm, showing the complicated, unstable nature of their relationship. Thompson sometimes tried to be friendly, acting as if their violent past didn't exist. Other times he was aggressive and demanding. This inconsistency is actually very common in abusive relationships. The abuser switches between charm and threats, keeping the victim off balance and confused. Thompson had also been messaging people connected to McKenzie's new partner. He was gathering information about who she was seeing. He was trying to maintain control over her life, even though they were no longer together. This kind of behavior is a major red flag for domestic violence experts. When an ex-partner obsessively monitors and interferes with a victim's new relationships, the danger level is extremely high. Detectives interviewed McKenzie's mother, Tabitha. She told them that she had been afraid for her daughter's safety. She had worried constantly about what Thompson would do when he got out of prison. The Newcastle Herald later reported that Tabitha testified McKenzie had lived in constant fear after Thompson's release. She described how he simply would not leave her alone. McKenzie's friends echoed this. They told investigators that McKenzie had confided in them about Thompson's persistent efforts to force his way back into her life. One friend said McKenzie wanted nothing more than to protect her son, but felt powerless to do so. She was caught between her fear of Thompson and her inability to make him stop contacting her. Investigators also discovered McKenzie's communications with domestic violence support services. She had reached out asking for help with safety upgrades like cameras and reinforced doors. She was trying to protect herself. She knew she was in danger, and she was doing exactly what victims are told to do, seeking help from support services. But the help came too slowly. The upgrades hadn't been installed yet, and Thompson didn't wait. When detectives questioned Thompson, his responses were revealing. According to court records later reported by the Newcastle Herald, he tried to present the incident as a chaotic misunderstanding. Despite the AVO that clearly forbade him from being at McKenzie's flat, Thompson insisted he had been invited there that night. He claimed McKenzie had asked him to come over. Thompson described an argument that escalated. He said McKenzie had picked up a knife in anger and injured both of them. In his version of events, he was acting in self-defense. He claimed he was just trying to wrestle the weapon away from her when his hand got cut. He reportedly told officers, "She came at me and I just reacted." But his story didn't hold up under scrutiny. As detectives pressed him with questions, his account shifted. The sequence of events he described didn't match the physical evidence. It didn't match the witness statements, and it didn't match common sense. If Thompson was really defending himself, why were there 78 stab wounds? Why was the attack so sustained and brutal? Why did one of the knives break from the force? Why were McKenzie's injuries so catastrophic while Thompson only had a cut hand? Why were there witnesses who heard McKenzie screaming in distress? Why had she asked him to leave multiple times throughout the night? None of Thompson's explanations could answer these questions. Detectives also confronted him about his behavior in the 16 days since his release from prison. They showed him proof of his repeated violations of the AVO. The calls, the messages across multiple social media accounts, The contacts with McKenzie's friends. Thompson tried to downplay all of it. He claimed he was simply trying to sort things out and stay in touch because of their shared history. But McKenzie's emails to domestic violence support services told a different story. She had expressed clear fear that Thompson would come after her. She had said he was harassing her. She had sought help to protect herself from him. The investigation also examined Thompson's interactions with McKenzie's male friend to determine if jealousy had played a role. The presence of a new person in McKenzie's life may have been a triggering factor for Thompson, intensifying his need to control her and potentially pushing him toward violence. As the evidence mounted, one conclusion became unavoidable. This was not self-defense. This was not a misunderstanding. This was domestic violence that escalated to murder. On March 27, 2022, just 2 days after McKenzie's death, Tyrone Thompson was formally charged with murder. He was also charged with breaching the AVO and several related offenses. The murder charge was supported by substantial evidence: the knife fragments covered in McKenzie's blood, Thompson's DNA on the handle, witness accounts of McKenzie's desperate screams, and Thompson's own suspicious injuries and constantly changing story. Thompson was also charged with intimidation because of his ongoing pattern of abuse and harassment in the weeks leading up to the attack. Even though he never openly admitted a motive, the investigation made it crystal clear. Detectives working with domestic violence specialists concluded that Thompson's actions were driven by a desire to reassert control over McKenzie. She was trying to move forward with her life. She was building a relationship with someone new. She was protecting her son, and Thompson couldn't accept that. His past assaults, his coercive behavior, his continued contact after being released from jail, all of it pointed to the same conclusion. He had no intention of letting McKenzie go, and if he couldn't have her, no one would. The charges against Thompson marked an important step toward justice, but they also exposed serious failures in the system that was supposed to protect McKenzie. She had an AVO. It meant nothing. She had reported Thompson's violations. Nothing was done quickly enough. She had sought help from support services. The help didn't arrive in time. McKenzie did everything right, and she still died. For nearly 3 years, the case moved through the legal system. Thompson initially maintained his innocence. He claimed he was defending himself. He insisted the killing was an accident, a tragic misunderstanding. His lawyers prepared for trial. A 4-week trial was scheduled to begin on April 7, 2025, in the New South Wales Supreme Court. McKenzie's family prepared themselves for the ordeal of sitting through detailed testimony about how she died. They would have to hear about every wound, every moment of her terror, every piece of evidence. But then on April 1, 2025, something changed. Tyrone Thompson, now 25 years old, changed his plea. Standing in court, he pleaded guilty to the domestic violence-related murder of McKenzie Anderson. The trial was no longer necessary. Thompson had finally admitted what everyone already knew: he had killed her. His guilty plea was significant for several reasons. First, it spared McKenzie's family the trauma of a lengthy trial. They wouldn't have to sit through weeks of testimony looking at crime scene photos, hearing expert witnesses describe exactly how McKenzie died. Second, it moved the case directly to the sentencing phase. Now the focus would be on determining what punishment Thompson would face for taking McKenzie's life. The sentencing hearing was overseen by Justice Richard Weinstein. This was the moment when the court would hear arguments from both sides about what kind of sentence was appropriate. Crown Prosecutor Brendan Quinn presented the case against Thompson. He painted a picture of sustained, deliberate violence that was the culmination of a long pattern of control and abuse. Quinn emphasized several key points. First, Thompson had been on conditional release for previously assaulting McKenzie. He was supposed to stay away from her. Instead, he violated his release conditions almost immediately. Second, Thompson had twice forced his way into McKenzie's flat on the night of the murder. She had asked him to leave. He refused. Third, despite a judge's explicit order forbidding him from going anywhere near McKenzie, Thompson had attacked her with kitchen knives. Fourth, he had stabbed her 78 times in under 3 minutes. The assault was so savage that one of the knives broke. Fifth, McKenzie had been trying to get help. She had contacted support services. She had expressed fear for her safety, and the system had failed to protect her. Quinn argued that Thompson's crime was particularly serious because of McKenzie's vulnerability and her repeated attempts to seek help. She had done everything she could to protect herself. Thompson had ignored every legal barrier designed to keep them apart. But Thompson's defense lawyers had a different argument. They acknowledged the seriousness of the crime, but argued for a more lenient sentence. They presented what they called mitigating factors, circumstances that they claimed reduced Thompson's level of moral responsibility. Thompson's lawyers argued that he had mental health struggles and had experienced a difficult upbringing. According to the Newcastle Weekly, his lawyer stated that while Thompson wasn't legally insane, at the time of the killing, he did suffer from mental instability that had intensified the situation. They suggested his mental state should be considered when determining his sentence. Thompson also submitted a handwritten apology to the court. In it, he expressed remorse, saying, "No words can undo the pain and devastation I caused to someone I genuinely loved." But prosecutors weren't buying it. Quinn argued that Thompson's apology wasn't sincere. Thompson had made statements suggesting the violence in their relationship went both ways, claiming their relationship was very physical on both sides. This, Quinn argued, showed Thompson was trying to shift blame onto McKenzie, even while supposedly apologizing. Justice Weinstein questioned the sincerity of Thompson's apology as well. He noted that it didn't demonstrate genuine remorse or real understanding of what he had done. On May 1st, 2025, Justice Weinstein delivered his sentence. Tyrone Thompson received 42 years and 6 months in prison. He would have to serve a minimum of 15 years and 6 months before being eligible for parole. That means Thompson wouldn't be able to apply for release until 2038. In explaining his decision, Justice Weinstein described the attack as so frenzied and violent that it had torn McKenzie's family apart, leaving them feeling powerless, devastated, and furious. He acknowledged Thompson's history of violence and McKenzie's documented fear of him. These factors deepened the seriousness of the crime. However, the judge also considered what he called mitigating factors. Thompson's guilty plea, which had spared the family a trial, his alleged mental health issues, his claimed difficult upbringing. These considerations led to a sentence that some felt was too lenient. When McKenzie's family heard the sentence, their response was immediate and heartbreaking. Tabitha Accurate, McKenzie's mother, stood outside the Newcastle Supreme Court fighting back tears. Her words cut to the heart of the matter. "This might look like a good result for the courts," she told reporters, "but we are disgusted that this is what they believe my daughter's life was worth." She called the sentence an insult, not just to McKenzie, not just to their family, but to women everywhere, to every victim of domestic violence who is told the system will protect them. Think about what this sentence really means. Thompson will serve a minimum of 15 and a half years. He's 25 now. He'll be about 41 when he's first eligible for parole. He'll still have most of his life ahead of him. He could be released, rebuild his life, maybe even have a family someday. McKenzie was 21 when she died. She'll never get to see her son grow up. She'll never graduate from college, never have a career, never fall in love again, never grow old. Her son will grow up without his mother. He'll only know her through photographs and stories, and her family will carry the weight of her loss for the rest of their lives. Is 15 and a half years really enough? Is that what Mackenzie's life was worth? Tabitha didn't think so, and she wasn't going to stay silent. She immediately called for a review of the sentence. She demanded that the case be appealed. She wanted a sentence that better reflected the severity of what Thompson had done and the value of her daughter's life. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions agreed. They filed an appeal arguing that Thompson's sentence was manifestly inadequate. That's a legal term meaning the sentence is so far below what's appropriate that it represents an error. A review was scheduled for May 14, 2025, with a full appeal hearing set for August 8, 2025, in the Court of Criminal Appeal. The goal was to extend Thompson's prison term and send a stronger message about domestic violence crimes. Tabitha welcomed the appeal. She called it an important first step toward securing a sentence that better reflects community expectations and moral standards. For her, this fight wasn't just about Thompson. It was about every victim of domestic violence. It was about making sure the justice system takes these crimes seriously. It was about ensuring that protection orders actually protect people. As of now, Thompson remains behind bars while the appeal proceeds. The outcome could significantly increase his sentence, but no matter what happens, no sentence will ever be enough. No amount of prison time will bring Mackenzie back. No legal proceeding will undo the trauma her family has suffered or give her son his mother back. Mackenzie's little boy is now being cared for by her loved ones. He's growing up surrounded by family who love him and keep his mother's memory alive, but he'll never truly know her. He was only 23 months old when she died. He won't remember her voice, her laugh, the way she held him. He'll only know her through stories and photos, and that is perhaps the cruelest part of this tragedy. Not only was Mackenzie's life stolen from her, but her son's relationship with his mother was stolen too. This case forces us to confront some very uncomfortable questions. Questions we as a society need to answer. Why do protection orders so often fail to protect? An AVO is a piece of paper. It only works if it's enforced. Thompson violated his AVO within 24 hours of being released from prison. He continued violating it repeatedly for 16 days. Where was the enforcement? Where were the consequences that might have stopped him before he killed Mackenzie? Why was Thompson's initial jail sentence so short? He had assaulted Mackenzie, terrified her, and damaged her property. He got 4 months. He was out in 4 months. And 16 days after his release, she was dead. Does that sentence seem proportionate to the danger he posed? Why didn't the support services Mackenzie contacted act faster? She asked for cameras and reinforced doors. She was trying to protect herself, but the help didn't come in time. What barriers prevented faster action? What could have been done differently? How do we better identify high-risk domestic violence situations? Experts can often predict which abusers are most likely to kill. Thompson showed many warning signs: escalating violence, refusal to accept the end of the relationship, obsessive monitoring of Mackenzie's life, immediate violation of the protection order. If these signs had been properly assessed, could intervention have saved her life? What happens to children who lose a parent to domestic violence? Mackenzie's son will carry this trauma his entire life. What support is available for him? How do we help children cope with such profound loss? These questions don't have easy answers, but we have to keep asking them. We have to keep demanding better, because McKenzie Anderson should be alive today. She should be watching her son learn to ride a bike, helping him with homework, celebrating his birthdays. She should be building the future she dreamed of. Instead, she's gone, killed by a man who claimed to love her, failed by a system that was supposed to protect her. Domestic violence is an epidemic. In Australia, on average, 1 woman is killed by a current or former partner every week. Every single week, another family is shattered. Another child loses a mother. Another community mourns. These aren't just statistics, these are real people. Daughters, mothers, sisters, friends. People like McKenzie who were just trying to live their lives, protect their children, and build a better future. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. In Australia, you can call 1800-RESPECT, 1800-737-732 for confidential information, counseling, and support. In the US, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. In the UK, the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is 8008-2000-247. These services are available 24/7. If you're worried about someone, don't stay silent. Check in with them. Let them know you're concerned. Offer support without judgment. Sometimes just knowing that someone cares can make all the difference. And if you see warning signs of domestic violence, controlling behavior, isolation from friends and family, unexplained injuries, fear of a partner, take it seriously. Believe victims when they tell you they're afraid. Help them access support services. Don't minimize their concerns or tell them their partner will change. The most dangerous time for a domestic violence victim is when they're trying to leave. That's when abusers are most likely to become deadly. McKenzie's family has turned their grief into action. They're fighting not just for a longer sentence for Thompson, but for systemic change. They're speaking out about the failures that led to McKenzie's death. They're demanding better protection for victims. And they're keeping McKenzie's memory alive, making sure she's not just remembered as a statistic, but as a person, a loving mother, a devoted daughter, a loyal friend. The appeal hearing in August 2025 may result in a longer sentence for Thompson. It may send a stronger message about how seriously our society takes domestic violence. Or it may not. The justice system doesn't always deliver the outcomes families hope for. But regardless of what happens in court, McKenzie's legacy continues. Her story has raised awareness about the failures in our domestic violence response systems. It's sparked conversations about how we can better protect victims. It's reminded us all that behind every domestic violence statistic is a real person whose life mattered.
Tabitha Ackworth vowed to be a voice for her daughter, and today that voice was as loud as ever.
I fought as hard as I could to change an outcome, but today it wasn't enough. The decision is yet another reminder in Australia. Women's lives are not valued.
21-year-old McKenzie Anderson lost her life at the hands of her ex-boyfriend Tyrone Thompson in 2022. He stabbed her at least 78 times in her Mayfield home. A brutal murder which saw him jailed for 22.5 years with a non-parole term of 15.5. Prosecutors appealed, arguing it was manifestly inadequate. But today...
If you found this case important, I need you to do something. Don't just watch and move on. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share this video with someone who needs to hear McKenzie's story. And please leave a comment below. Tell me what you think needs to change. How can we better protect domestic violence victims? What would you say to lawmakers if you could? What would you say to someone who's currently in an abusive relationship and afraid to leave? Your comments aren't just engagement for the algorithm. They're part of a larger conversation that needs to happen. They help spread awareness, and they might reach someone who needs to hear that they're not alone, that help is available, that their life matters. Subscribe to our channel for more coverage of important cases like this. We post videos regularly examining cases that spark important conversations about justice, safety, and how we can do better as a society. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant,